And hello there, people of the world. As always, welcome to the coolest corner of the internet, Sir Koolzalot. You're cool, I'm cool, we're all super cool. So, lots of videos are on the roll this week. With this one, I am sharing some notes on the X6 Pioneer Pro from Secret Box, or branded from 4ALLFamily. And today I took the X6 out on a trail walk to see how it would do. Actually, I took two X6s out, which you will see in a minute. But before I actually went on the trail, I spent a little bit of time trying to sort of accessorize. I tried out a couple of different travel carrier bags and some different cables and different things, and so I think you will, if you are planning to get the X6, I think you will appreciate the notes. So let me jump on in and show you what I've got. So here's already a little peek at the presentation today. So some beautiful Bay Area, California trails, and the morning walk was just as the sun was coming up, so I managed to grab this cool photo of the sun popping up over the horizon. But don't worry too much if this photo is a little bit on the darker side. I have some really cool stuff to show you in today's presentation. So as always, I have disclaimers. All my data is my own, all my views are my own. I'm on a personal quest to find the best medicine travel products that are out there. So let me show you what I have today. Just a quick recap. Here's the star of the show, so the X6, also branded as the Pioneer Pro in the US. The X6 comes from the Secret Box company, but also it is branded as Pioneer Pro in certain markets. So one of my favorite trails, a trail in San Mateo that gets you about a 6-mile walk over two or so hours, depending on how much you stop. You've seen this trail in one of my prior videos, so nothing too surprising here, but here it is. So now let me spend a little bit of time walking you through the trial and error process that I went through to getting to a place where I found or I got comfortable with a setup that I decided to sort of go live and try on a trail. So let me show you what I have. So I actually had to try out quite a bit of let's call it water bottle carrier bag products. I will show you the different products that I tried and then ultimately what I landed on. Because the X6 has a kind of an onboard battery that's attached to the side, it creates a little bit of a geometric challenge in terms of what's the most appropriate carrier bag to use. The 40-ounce carrier bag was often just a little bit too small, while the 64-ounce carrier bag was often just a little bit too big, or really big, depending on what the product design was. So there was a little bit of a tug of war between the different carrier bag sizes and something that could ultimately work. So here's one that I tried. This unfortunately was a little bit too big. It's funny how some of these product pictures look so cool, but when you receive the product, it's kind of been crunched in a bag and it's all kind of crinkled up. But that's okay. If the product had potential, you could sort of straighten this out a little bit with maybe some heat or something. I liked this product because it had kind of these cool straps, cool mesh thing. Actually, the base of the bag was also meshed, and so it was kind of an interesting structure. But anyway, as you can see, it was a little bit too tall, and then obviously far too wide. So here's another one that I was playing around with. It looked really cool in the photo. And what caught my attention was how it had this sort of netting on one side and then kind of a bag on the other. Actually, I was a little bit mistaken, because when I saw this product, I sort of felt like there was two compartments. But unfortunately, when the product arrived, actually this bag was just a kind of a single bag. There wasn't any separations or anything like that. So here's kind of what that looks like. So it's quite a sizable bag. Of course, it didn't look as cool as the photos either, but that's okay. You know, I tried the pockets. The side pocket was sort of too small, unfortunately, so the item would just sort of fall out. The netting was really great. It's just a shame that the bag didn't have kind of a section for the netting and then another section for the sort of the darkened out piece. So basically, this was sort of free falling within the main pocket. But it was kind of cool, you know, starting to give me some ideas. I quite like the netting stuff, so I sort of made a note that could be interesting. And then here's another product. So this is Kemimoto. I really thought the pictures were cool, and they have different sizes, a 32, a 40, and a 64. I kind of liked the measurements on some of these as well. I was like, oh yeah, you know, it's kind of in the 4-inch range. Perhaps that's gonna do the job. The 64 ounce bag was a little bit wider, but let me sort of show you that. Yeah, so here you go. So you can kind of see the 64 ounce bag was kind of not too bad actually, but I was really hoping for something that was kind of really snug and tight around the medicine cooler. And then here now you can kind of see the other bag, the smaller size one. This actually really caught my attention. I made a note that I quite like this one, and of course there's a really nice pocket with a double zip, so you can kind of position cables wherever you want and kind of use the double zip to close the pocket at the exact location where the cable is. This is kind of cool. Let's keep on going. Yeah, so now, yeah, let's kind of zone in and look at that. I thought this bag was quite cool. So actually, hey, this is the 4ALLFamily Voyager, and then this is the RX Coolers Max, aka they started calling this one just the Pioneer base model. But hey, look at that. That's I really like this bag. Actually, I think I might start using it for travel purposes. It also had kind of nice aluminium inner layer as well, which I thought was quite cool for kind of protecting it from heat and stuff. And it's got quite a few nice pockets and other stuff. All right, I'll keep on going. So then the next one here, the Nuvio Wear. So this was quite an interesting bag as well. It had a nice pocket. It had some different sizes. Some of them, 30, 32. This was a really big one. I think this was like a 64 ounce. So here I ordered both the 64 and the 40 ouncer. And actually, both of them were quite good. It had this sort of tie. I don't know what you call this, but it had this sort of feature where you could sort of tie it in and close it. But the bag was quite big. I was starting to think, well, if I'm traveling at an airport, this is quite a sizable structure. I'd sort of maybe want something a little bit more discreet. And then actually the size down was quite good. Look at that. Here's sort of a side view. I was thinking if you angle the battery bay along the axis, along the axis in line with the pocket. You could kind of really create something quite cool here. You know, if the pocket is right where the battery bay is, perhaps this creates kind of a too much weight to one side. But I really like this idea of having a pocket on the side, the battery kind of sitting there, and yeah, this might do the trick as well. It's quite cool. And then here's another one I was trying. So actually I've been using the Ace tracker for my travels with the Voyager. So you've actually seen this sort of blue neoprene looking bag a few times, but I've been using the 40-ounce version. This is the 64, so it's a little bit bigger. Unfortunately, the 64-ounce was just a little tad too big. It didn't kind of hold the unit kind of secure enough, but I like the fact that they had the dual zips for cable positioning, other stuff like this. Yeah, this was kind of a shame because the Ace tracker works really well for the 4ALLFamily Voyager. It fits perfectly, but this one was just a little bit too big for my liking. I wanted something a little bit more tighter. And then here's one that I wasn't 100% sure was going to work out, but it was kind of interesting because it had this sort of pocket area here. You zip down and there's sort of a pocket, and then it has this sort of I don't know what you call it, like a sort of a shoelace strap system on either side, so you can sort of tailor the size of this holder to different bottle types. So I thought this was kind of cool. I did note that it doesn't have a shoulder strap, it just has an ankle, not an ankle, a hand holding strap, but it had these little sort of positions where you could attach perhaps a strap if you wanted to. Anyway, that was kind of interesting. So let me show you that. Yeah, so it arrived, and wow, I was actually quite impressed with this. I like the fact that because the X6 is a bit of it's not a perfect circle, it's more of an oval shape. You could sort of position the oval to sort of run longitudinally through that through the holder, and then you could really sort of tie these up a little bit like shoelaces. You could just sort of pull them together, and there was one on either side, and then there was another tie at the back that wrapped around. Actually, you can see it here. It kind of wrapped around there, and you could tie that up. So it actually kind of really had a good grip on the cooler once it was in position. So yeah, this was actually, I was quite impressed with this one too. It's quite a good concept. Might be too rugged for airport travel or not. I'm not too sure yet. I'll sort of. I just made a note to perhaps this is more for camping and expeditions. I wanted something that you sort of had the ability to maybe put a shoulder strap or something like that. But maybe it works. Maybe it's okay. And then this looked kind of cool on the website. It's called a Uxel water bottle holder. It had the mesh sort of structure, so very, very simple. Actually, the idea I had was if the structure was thin enough, perhaps you could actually slide. There's a very small space that sits between the flask and that battery that hangs over it. So I was sort of thinking that if you had a thin enough mesh structure, perhaps you could actually slide that in between that space, and so the battery would therefore be sort of hanging out on the outside. But that was sort of the concept here. When it arrived, so you can kind of see this idea here, right, that you sort of feed the mesh up onto the flask, but the battery actually hangs on the outside. Unfortunately, it had this sort of I don't know what you call it. It had a bit of a thicker structure towards the top for pockets and stuff, and so this thicker structure was unfortunately a little bit too thick to allow the mesh to sort of slide up. But it almost made it. It was a bit of a tight fit. But anyway, at least you can sort of see the idea of how that played out. Kind of a shame. It almost made it. This would have been quite cool, and it's so sort of slick. I think on the downside though is you get, it doesn't provide any protection, so it's more of a sort of a carrier system. So let's keep on going. And then finally, in sort of the getting things set up, maybe some extra accessories that I kind of put into play. So I've mentioned this a few times. I quite like these USB ports that have a magnetic breakaway, and they're also articulated so they can sort of spin around in all directions and stuff. These are kind of cool because if the cable gets pulled, they break away. They won't break the ports or anything like that, and you can articulate the cable in really any direction you want. Cable Creation have these really nice, very short cables that basically can run from the USB cooler to the battery, and you don't have a lot of wire to sort of deal with or manage. And so I usually have a blue one, but I figured I would order a couple of sort of black and white ones to make the colors match a bit better with the X6. Got my usual the Inu, and then some different medical bag tags and other things like that. So you'll see all of this stuff in a minute. So now let me show you some trail footage. So now you can see which of the two bags I went with. I thought they were kind of cool. I took both these units out on this 6-mile walk. I wanted to get a feel for how they felt, how they held, actually how they performed. They had temperature loggers in them. This was about a 2-hour walk over 6 miles. I carried one at shoulder level as a strap, and then this one, as I said, didn't have the shoulder thing, and so I actually handheld it using the hand holder. I think later on you could probably add a strap or something, but it didn't come with one. So I'll keep on going. I'll show you some more footage so you can sort of get a feel for how this will be in the wild or in the field. Here's kind of a close-up. So just a heads up, I actually did take an external battery as well. I really wanted to sort of test out how this would feel, while going out on a trail or to the airport, whatever. So now you can kind of see that pocket, how nice that pocket is. You can fit a whole Inu battery in there, and then for the rugged holder, as I mentioned, you can actually fit a whole battery in the side pocket there. There you can see that cable, how easy it is. There you can see those articulated ports. They just move into position with the magnetic breakaways. You get the idea. So now we're at the waterfront, sort of giving you a few more photos from you can see here now I'm getting closer and closer to the bridge as I walk along the trail front here. And here's some more photos. Do you feel the campfire calling you at this point? That's kind of cool, huh? Now I have quite a lot of battery power here, if you think about it. I have the 10,000 milliamp onboard battery, and now I also have a 20,000 milliamp Inu battery, so that's 30,000 milliamp hours of power there. So I am pretty sure I can run for a good 20-30 hours in this setup. These units were running on the level 2 at the time, and they were turned down to 2 degrees centigrade. So you'll see the data plot in a minute. And as I said, getting closer and closer to the bridge. So just a couple more photos there, so you can really feel the experience. Imagine how it would feel to go out with this product and the various accessories. It was kind of hard, as I said. little bit hard to find a bag that works because it's kind of this a little bit more of an unusual oval shape with the battery kind of hanging out on the side, so it takes a little bit of work to get a good fit there. But the battery, the carrier bag that came with it is just not cool enough for me. So, and just a couple more photos there. And now a little bit of a tour. And you'll see that the sun was now just past the horizon, so really starting to come up now. So I like doing my walks early in the morning before the sun fully comes up. It's kind of cooler. It's a good time to do that. And back to the engineering table. So let me show you how this product could look with all the bells and whistles, right? So here we've got the white X6, we got the black X6, I've got the rugged medical tag here, I've got the Star of Life, I love these. I got the red one here, I got the embroidered medical tag here, medical bag as it's called. I've got the cable management, I've got the pockets with the in-ear battery. You can kind of see the battery here, just so you can get a feel for it. I gotta say, I think this is pretty cool. I would definitely be traveling with this setup. This is gonna work for me. As you have probably guessed, I am preparing to do a live trip with this product. So I am now planning the accessories, getting organized, doing some field testing, really getting my things ready here for a live travel run. So stay tuned for that. And then just finishing up here so you can kind of see some data. So just a heads up, actually in parallel I was running the test and experiments to study the question of, do caps and cups have an impact on the temperature of USB medicine coolers? So I just completed a massive 5-day experiment with that. I'm going to post that video separately, but this actually is an extract of a specific area of the graph that you'll see in that other video that just focuses on, I decided to double dip on the experiments, and I took the X6 units out for a walk that morning while I was still running the other experiment. And then here's sort of the time window where I did that. So as you can see, so ignore the ambient temperature here now because that's my house ambient temperature, but here you can kind of see the units perform very, very nicely on that walk. Really very little change in behavior or stability of the temperature. You know, I was carrying it on I was carrying one on a shoulder strap that was sitting next to me, next to my waist, and the other one I sort of handheld. And actually, as the sun was coming up as well, actually you can kind of see the ambient temperature of my house here. This is the sun coming up, so yeah, kind of gives you an idea. And then interestingly enough, when I got back to the house, my house was a little bit warmer. So you can see here it kind of gave the unit a little bit of a temperature jolt, but not too much. So yeah, very nice graph. Very happy to see this. Definitely good temperature control. I had a switch bot probe in the upper and the lower position. The lower position's right where the drug product usually is, and then I had a tempo disc sitting at the base just to measure the base temperature there as well. And so that's really a wrap for this accessories and trail video. I thought hopefully you find that kind of interesting. Just a heads up, I mean, it actually took me quite a few hours of work over a few days to order all those different types of bags. Many of them didn't work, so I returned them. I did keep the ones that I like as well, and so hopefully that saves you a little bit of energy. We do have a community Discord server that's up and running. do forgive me if some of the codes or the links don't work. I've been having little glitches with that, but well, if you want to join the Discord server and either you can text chat or even live chat. There's a really nice community that's building there. So hope to see you there. And that's a wrap for me.